Hey y'all, Long Lance here, Shane. Just doing a bit of work on the bench, doing a bit of work on Panzer 1. It is late Friday night, just a little bit after 1 in the morning. I'm wired awake, so I'm all set for model making, no better can do. Got my mug of hot chocolate, all being very fancy tonight. Got a David Bowie going on in the background. Well, I'm up kind of in the shed now because Lady Long Lance is out partying with her friends. Apparently Shane had a forgettable face. She kind of forgot to ask me if I'd like to go out with them, which I would have, but instead of sitting there feeling a bit sorry and left out for myself, even though she didn't intend that to happen. I hope not. God, that'd be a serious state of affairs if that was the case. But so I started to do a bit of work on the Panzer 1 because I want to get all these sub-assemblies done and ready for painting, because I'm after beginning the ISM Rain of Steel group build. So I'll be doing the Battle of Halfa, which was the first battle of Alamein. But I'll be talking about that in the video. I was actually going to work on the 25-pounder, the Bronco 25-pounder today, or tonight should I say, but I kind of want to get this done. So I'll show you what I've done on this. Now I need to move up behind the camera so I can see. So as you can see, I've got everything done. All the tools are on. The chains for the smoke dischargers are on. Didn't lose them. The tools, the antenna, the antenna mount, which was a bloody bollocks to get on because it wouldn't conform. But I had to super glue it down. I cheated. And I'm going to turn this down because I imagine I might be a bit loud. I'm going to turn it down a little bit because David Bowie's awesome. And you can't compete with that, lads. I'm sorry, but you can't. Even though I was watching Vo909's video for his Desert Storm group build, and he had Rolling Stones Give Me Shelter going on in the background, so I was bobbing away to that. So as you can see, I got quite a bit done. It's a lovely looking vehicle. I really like it. Got the headlights done, and they come clear apart, so they're going to be sealed with a liquid mask or artist liquid mask before painting. So what I'm at now at the moment, so I'm going to put this aside. Don't worry, I will be doing a detailed photo slideshow of everything I've done, and I'll be doing an update on the treads with anything I've encountered I should worry about. And I did encounter some trouble with the jack assembly and the mounter bracket. It's it's dragging. I got dragoned. That's the new term for any time dragon's instructions lead you astray. It's called being dragoned. Yeah, this came up there all by my lonesome. So what I'm at the moment is I'm cleaning up the hatches, which I'm going to leave off until near the end, and I'm working on the figures. And I'm going to do quite a bit of work with these figures, and I'm switching out the heads or resin ones I have lying in the spares bin, but at the moment I'm going to clean up here. So yeah, Draslik, I was talking to him there he's working, or he's planning to do an AS90, which is a British Army Serpropel 155 on the Challenger chassis. It is a cool looking machine, and he asked me if I would do a weathering kind of whitewash tutorial, and the answer is yes, I will. I'll find some old model or even a figure, because it can be applied to anything, because the technique is completely the same. But I'll tell you a little bit about it, just if you're watching this, buddy, so you might find it some interest, yeah? So what you do is, we were talking about, sorry everybody watching, so I put into context, he was asking kind of how would he paint we're discussing how would he paint the AS90. He was quite sure was he going to do it in the NATO 3 colour cam or in Gulf War desert sand kind of camouflage. And I was telling him I came across in one of the old modelling magazines, I think it was Fine Scale Modeler, I think, had good stuff that. Had a good article with a guy building an Operation Telic AS90, so I believe that's 2003 Gulf War, second Gulf War. and to keep it interesting, so it's not just one colour. Because what they did was, you can apply it, any of you North Africa World War II modelers can apply it, or anyone doing even whitewashing, it's exactly the same. What they basically do is that they'd water down a paint appropriate to the area operation, so in the desert it'd be a desert sand colour, and they'd overspray the entire fake with it. But because it wasn't factory primed, if you will, the exposure, especially to the desert sand would act like a sandblast and start chipping away quite large chunks of paint. So you'd have the original camouflage exposed beneath the tank. So in a way you get this two-toned, erratic or random pattern, and it's really eye-catching if done right. And the idea is that you have to be very random, but not random at the same time, as in that you're doing it randomly, but while you're regulating the amount. You don't go overboard chipping. So you're kind of using common sense, like, you know, sharp angles, areas of high impact or high footfall would work on it. So I was saying to him, because he was saying, oh, I'm a brush painter. He paints by hand, and he kind of saying, like, oh, how could I make that work? And he was like, I've been a brush painter all the time. Even though over Christmas I got a Hardin Steinbeck airbrush and a good old airbrush or compressor with it. So I haven't used it yet, so I'm still waiting for a place to heat up. So I have no experience in airbrushing, but I have in brush painting. So, buddy, what I recommend to use is go into your art shop and buy Artist's Liquid Mask or Art Mask. This is Winsor & Newton's art masking fluid, I believe it's called, or liquid mask in different places. And all you do, so you get that, you find a little scrap little piece, like an upturned lid, and just pour a little bit out. You don't need all that much. And then you get yourself a sponge, tear the sponge up into random parts, and by hand you can dip a little bit into the fluid. And so say you're doing your AS90, so it will be painted while in its 3-tone or even a green camo under it. Let that set, and then once that's set, overspray your desert camouflage. So your desert grey, or not your desert grey, your desert yellow. Let that set. Or sorry, my apologies. Sorry, I'm after forgetting the most important blue step. We'll go back to the start. So once you've sprayed your green or your base colour, so the colour it would be back home before they sprayed it to match the environment it's going to be fighting in. So whether it be a whitewash for Arctic or tundra environment, or desert wash or overwash, or desert wash for armoured vehicles, say in the desert. So you spray your green in the case of your AS90. Let that set, and once that's set, so whatever the colour is you're using, so if you're using Vallejo, leave it for at least 2 hours, or if just be safe, just leave it for 24 hours, come back to it. And what you do is go online and get as many images of AS90s operating in Basra or in Iraq, wherever the hell you want to do, so you have something to constantly convert to, and study where does the original paint come through the desert camo the most. Okay? So say, the hatches. Always the areas around the hatches, because that's where the crew are walking. So what we do is, you have an idea where you're going to start. Anything with sharp edges is always a good place. And in a random manner, we will take our pieces of sponge at different sizes. So you can break it even down very fine if you wish. You can see, you can. Like that, like that type of thing. And that. So we'll take it here. So it's even damn it. There's no real reason for me to even do a piece. I can actually just explain it and just to kind of imagine what I mean. But if you want me to say, I will go and do it. It's not a problem, my friend. So say this is sprayed. This is your AS90. No one's done nothing. So this is your AS90. It's been sprayed green. Pretend. So we're pretending this Panzer 1 is our AS90. And it's been sprayed green, it's been left to sit for 24 hours. And now we're going to move on to adding the desert camo, the worn desert camo. So we take our sponge pieces, okay, with a little bit of masking fluid on it, and we begin to dab at random areas. And what the sponge does is, the sponge actually, because of the kind of porous surface, that broken bubble surface, will actually start to add random kind of patterns. Okay? So you painted your thing green, you've applied the liquid mask, so you'd apply a lot of it around the hatches and around areas where the crew be walking, or sharp angles like here, because the wind would hit that and begin to pull the paint off, and depending on how long it's been serving in, the more paint will get removed, because it was not known for vehicles in Iraq to lose, especially a lot of the vehicles were sprayed very quickly. Just basically the fitters themselves just came in, sprayed it, and then they were on the boat ready to stage for Operation Tillich. So it wasn't like they were treated or sealed in any way. You know what I mean? So especially the British vehicles, massive chunks of paint will come off. So as I was saying, you're applying your liquid mask. You let that set. You will see it go from a liquid to transparent, and once it goes transparent into it'll look like a gel or a paste, and it goes transparent, and it won't be tacky to your finger. So minimum you leave it for about 2 hours. If you're going to paint over it, leave it for at least 6. But you can build it up and build it up and build it up and add more to it as you wish. And then what you do is, what I used to do is I take a big flat brush, something, hang on out, I'm just getting from something like these, okay, and what I do is, in a way, I dry brush the lighter sand colour over it once the mask areas were dry, and in a very quick, almost stabbing motion, so kind of like, if you can see the way I'm doing it here, tum 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 tum, like that, right? And what you're doing is you're building up, you're actually allowing the paint not to settle in one area very quickly. Don't put a lot of paint onto your brush. When you put a little bit, you can build it up and build it up and build it up. Because bearing in mind, you're trying to get a non-uniform surface to make it look interesting as well, even with the grey. Because if it's not too thick, you can see the green through it. Okay. And then you leave that to set for another, say, 24 hours. And then when you come back, if you just literally rub your finger over the places where you apply the mask, it will peel away, and you'll have the green showing through, if you get me. And that's how you do that. I hope that helps. If you found my rambling a little bit hard to follow, I'll actually do a proper tutorial or how to, but I'd actually recommend just do it that way. Like, there's nothing to it, mate. You'd nail it in seconds, like. So, but if you want me to just leave it down in the comments, and I'll do up a proper video. And if not, I'll probably do one anyway, just if anyone wants me to do it. And you can use that for whitewashes too, for like winter camouflage. Okay, so I hope that's helpful, Draslik. I was actually looking at your channel too. It's pretty cool, kind of the gaming kind of parody style stuff you were doing in class. So a big fan of armor, so I love watching Shack Tack and whatnot. So anyway, that's off topic, man. So I hope that helped you. So now let's get back to the figures. So I would consider myself a bit more of a figure enthusiast than an armour modeler, because I believe both of them are so importantly intertwined. So I always believe in getting what really makes a good armour model in my mind is a good figure. I think Cone would agree as well, because he's a very good figure painter. He says he's not, but he's actually a damn good one. He says he'd say himself an armour modeler over a figure painter or a figure modeler, but no, he's a very, very, very talented figure painter. I've seen he's Mr. Campbell. So it's for high-end, like top-notch stuff, mate. So I'm not sure I'm on shot. So what I'm doing here at the moment is I'm actually removing the seam lines. And there's a few different ways you can do that. You get a nice sharp knife and just run them. Or if you're a little bit worried that you're going to start erasing the creases, run your hobby knife like this gently on its own way down the seam and it's gone. Just scrape it off. It's a small little thing that, and I know most of the experienced modelers would do that, this is the first thing I do, but I'm just saying this in the mindset of anyone new who's working with figures, and it might not be the first thing that comes to their mind. So again, I can see seam lines and the plug where I cut them off the sprue, so take it there, And literally, I'm sure you can see, I'm just going to just run my blades, not too heavily, just let it flow itself. Now, some people might go, you're cutting towards yourself, but bear in mind, you are cutting with the weight of the blade only. We're not applying any pressure other than the actual weight of the blade. So if it does slip into your finger, it should not cut you. If it's cut you, you're probably cutting your model in two anyway. So gently does it. Okay. So that's what I'm doing here. So these are the crew that came with the Panzer 1. Very nice. And my song is skipping. Damn you CDs, why are you doing this to me? So the radio it is. Yay! News talk at 1 o'clock in the morning. Let's see what George Hook has to say. Old hooky boy. Anyway, back to this. So, no, we're scraping. And, now of course you can't see that, but there was a seam line running just here. And now it's gone. So, like that, all that little detail adds a lot to the model. And at the end of the day, it's a marathon, not a race. So, like, you know, if you kind of build a model really quickly, you can kind of skimp out on details that any modeler of any level can do. You're going to go, oh, I could have done better. But so I think the golden rule is take your time, enjoy your model, and never be scared to push yourself. You know, like the same with the King Tiger, the Porsche King Tiger. I had the similar to that, and like I was very hesitant to do it because like I would not consider myself a good model maker at all. You know what I mean? I'm not. I make too many mistakes. I lose too many parts in almost every build I do to be a good model maker. You know, I lost a piece in the Panzer 1. The bloody grill for the rear muffler fell off, and I spent about 20 minutes on my hands and knees on the ground, and I can't bloody find it. So we'll just say the lads bumped into something that fell off, and they just cut it off. And Commander Hans here, he doesn't like eyesores on his Panzer 1. He's very proud of his. We'll call his Judy, his Panzer 1. No, he's very proud of his Judy, and he doesn't like eyesores on his precious tank. So he had he ordered poor old Muller here, his radio operator, to come out with a cutting tool and cut it off. So that's what we're going to say. Now, yes, I just named my tank and two of my models. Oh my God, there's no hope for us. Well, no hope for me, and therefore no hope for you for watching me. So again, just removing the seams. It's not. I know it's nothing too crazy, but with the commander, there's no real point removing seams from his waist down because he's going to be scanning the hatch. You're not going to see it. But just for this video, to get everybody into good habits, I'll remove the seams. For this guy, I'll have to, because he's sitting on the hatch, so you're going to see his legs. Now I know anyone who can hear that can actually hear the plastic being cut, so I'm probably going in a bit too heavy, but I'm kind of used to doing this, so I can kind of, if you're not used to doing it lightly, just do it a few times to get it off. Don't go too heavy, because it's easier just to go back and do it again than have to come back and fill a big chunk of plastic you cut, or more so a big chunk of your finger you just cut out. So, you know, now these are older models, they're not the Gen 2 style stuff or the newer stuff, but my God, they're lovely. Like any figure builders around here amongst you will know that DMLs or earlier figures are horrible, like, but these are pretty sharp. These are when I think this is when DML were getting really into the idea of putting all out for their figures. I also replaced the heads. The heads were great, don't get me wrong. The heads supplied in this kit are very good. But I have these two little resin heads lying around. One of them has the service side cap with dust goggles, which I think is really cool. Reminds you, it's something very kind of Panzer crew would wear. And I also have a commander's peak cap with the headband for the communication, for the headset and for the throat mic. They're already moulded on. I think he's an SS guy, I believe. I know. I'm just looking at his service badge. Yeah, he's put Death's Head is on it, Totenkopf. So it's an SS vehicle now. So I have to make sure the decal supplies are supporting an SS Panzer division. I should believe all the SS. I think for the most part, most of the Panzer divisions were SS, weren't they? Don't worry, one of you Panzer modders will let me know if all the German Panzer divisions were SS or not. I think one or two of them were Army or here. So So that's it. You know, I'm just kind of sitting out here. So the intention of this is to kind of just talk about what I'm up to and maybe give a few pointers on figure building and modelling for anyone. Cause I know a lot of people kind of get scared by figures and stuff like that. Not really to be worried about. I've been using the same method for figure painting for years and years, and I've got very good results out of it. You know, I think the best thing is just take your time, master what you have. You know. There's no real wonder tool to do in figures. You just have to take your time and enjoy it. You know, if you don't enjoy what you're making, then find another topic, another subject. Maybe like if you have a favourite unit or a favourite history, or particular like vehicle or military unit that really you're really passionate about. Find a figure or something like that that's connected directly to it, and I'll guarantee you, if you have a special connection to it, you will take your time and push yourself. You know. That's why I used to love doing Maker figures, and they were hard. Their camouflages are bloody bollocks. Like they have like water splinter cam or some weird thing like that. What's it called? There's a particular word for it. It's a bit because it's different to the other splinter cams. Now that's a bit of over mold in the hand, so it's going to come in and just literally run the blade inside his hand. I'm using a fresh blade. There we go, and then the inside of the thumb. That's a good place. You'll always get the seam line, for some reason, will always be either the length of the hand or the thumb. So, remember the bottom finger, the baby finger. So we just use gently, especially with the hands, just run the blade down it. Again, watch your fingers. So that's what I'm up to. I'm reading a very interesting book. What am I? I'm down to 2 minutes. So I'm going to have to do a memory card change in a second. So there will be a pause, but I'll forewarn you. So it's coming up in the next couple of minutes. So I won't continue my story just yet because I don't want a break in it. So I'm just going to clean up these for a few seconds. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop what I'm doing, change out my memory stick or my memory card. I'll be back to you in a second. So I'll see you back in a second, lads. Alright. So yeah, back again. So welcome back. So I was just talking there to you about I'm reading a new book at the moment. A very interesting book that my dad got me for Christmas. Called The Devil's Brigade, or not The Devil's Brigade, The Devil's Guard. It's a story that I never knew about, and it's from a topic that's often kind of forgotten, but very, very I find it personally very interesting, the entire topic. It's written by an author called Erich Meyer, or Meyer, as in Panzer Meyer, so Erich Meyer. But what it's about the French in Indochina in the 50s, which is, you know, like, it's one of those kind of forgotten wars. So you get like Bin Tujin or Dien Bien Phu, is this that big French fortress that gets besieged, which is an incredible story. But this is actually, I thought it'd be about that because that's, when anyone does think of Indochina, it's that to think about. But this is actually a story that was kind of debated to this stage, how much of this myth's actually correct and how much of it isn't. It's about the French Foreign Legion and units of French Foreign Legion being made up of almost entirely ex-SS soldiers after the fall of the war, because obviously many of the SS soldiers were worried that they're going to face reprisals and war crime charges with all of the Nuremberg trials going on. So many of them, up until 1947, when the Legion passed legislation to ban any German citizen with an SS record, but it was more or less generally seen that they would let them in anyway because their experience was invaluable because they were fighting the same type enemy. So it's a guy called Sergeant Hoffman. He belongs to SS Das Reich, and he's basically like belongs to a unit of French Foreign Legion or Legionnaires who all are built up from guys from Ukraine, other kind of Eastern European areas, but then about 2 or 3 dozen of them are all ex-Totenkopf, Leichstandard, all like the real famous SS regiments or divisions. But not only do they openly say that they're ex-Nazis, and that's what they call themselves in the books, and joke about it because they know it kind of riles up the French. They also use German equipment, so instead of using the MAF-49 submachine gun, they use the MP-44 or MP-40, and instead of using the machine guns, which looks a lot like a Bren that the French have, I just can't think of the name of it, they use the MG-42. And you ask them, like, oh, where do they get their hands on that? But bearing in mind is that the French Foreign Legion always used to get the hand-me-down equipment. Up until kind of recently enough, like. So there would have been a surplus of captured German equipment, and they all requested that they could use it. So they didn't even try to hide that they were of SS origin. They actually used to openly say that they belonged to the SS units, even going as far as basically the SS Thunderbolts, or the stylized SS collar markings they have. They used to they took them off their uniforms and sewed them back onto their French camo, their legionary equipment. So they obviously wore their kit as a mark of pride, which is almost unbelievable when all these guys who had anything to do with the atrocities, well, I'm not saying these guys did, but anyone that had any connection to do with SS or Nazi party went out of their way to hide it. These guys went out of their way to bloody show it. They even went as far as even wearing their side caps, complete with their death heads badges on them. So the Zara book, it's dramatized. So, like, you know, instead of just being, oh, they're here at such and such a place, your man puts like an action story into it. And they were basically, I've got to the point now, I'm not going to give anything away because your man writes it as a thriller, but it's all based on reality. It's based on him talking, or the story is based on his conversation while researching this book and decided to put it in this manner, so it's very engaging, and you will turn pages one after the other. But the reason why the French wanted them so badly was simple. They're all for the most part veterans of like Kursk and Kursk and Kiev and or Krakow, or how it's called. So they're all experts in fighting massed infantry style warfare. And he doesn't fit. Oh wait, he does that. No. So they're all experts in fighting the kind of warfare that defeats Minh, which are they're the pre-runners of the Viet Cong. They're the original Communist Party in Indochina and Vietnam. They're all experts in fighting that type of mass warfare used a lot by communist countries, where they don't give a shit about their men and they'll send them all to their death. So the French army used to recruit them because they had fought an enemy identical to it, equipped identically, with the same mentality. So these guys knew how to take on. Basically, in the books, it talks about them taking on a company strength of them, with just a few platoons of SS guys as a part of that company, because obviously the entire company wouldn't be built with SS guys, but there'd be a few platoons where a lot of them in it together. And then I think the officers would actually confer with them the entire time, asking for their combat knowledge. But what they do is, it speaks in the book of their company taking on Viet Minh battalions and inflicting massive casualties on them, and simply bugging out in the jungle with no casualties, because the lads would basically teach them how to fight them. It's an unbelievable story, and it's a story too that's kind of sparked, I imagine, a lot of debate amongst academics and whatnot, and was it right to have them? Well, bear in mind, like, they're soldiers at the end of the day, and not every, they're probably in trouble for saying this, but not every SS soldier committed atrocities. There might have been, their units might have, but not all of them. Do you know what I mean? They might have to be forced to watch a lot of it, but it doesn't necessarily, that's cool. So I'm just fitting, look how small the Panzer I is compared to the soldier, the crewman. Jesus, like, that's class. So I'm just doing this sub-assembly. I'm going to do all my filling work now in a few minutes and sanding. Well, I'll probably do in the next video, because I'm down to 5 minutes already. So, well, Cohen was saying he encouraged us to do more long-term or long videos, so this is kind of for you, bud. Just something to watch while you're building. But yeah, it's an unbelievable story. It's very good, and I really recommend giving it a watch. It's called Devil's Guard by Eric Meyer, I believe. And if I got his first name wrong, just Amazon it and you'll find it. It's a great book. great read. And the other book I got, and I can't think of the writer, but it's about the SOG units, or what are they called? Special Observation Group in Vietnam, which were basically the Special Forces units, kind of Green Berets, and I think they were a bit of everyone in them. So, no, he's sitting a bit high, so I don't know if I can get him to come down a bit lower. But, I don't like the way he's sitting kind of awkwardly. But basically, the it's about the commander units written by first hand. So I think it's the first book written where a former SOG operative or operator actually like talked about his experience. So that'd be a good read. I haven't started that yet. Anything Vietnam. So I have 2 books on Vietnam. One with the Americans and one with the Germans, or one with the French, should I say? With the Germans. Yeah, so it's some interesting stuff. So I'm just kind of doing some test fits. They're okay. See, they're not designed. These figures came from the Stug crew, or Stug artillery lads, that the crew set that they released a few years back. So they're more designed like to fit in the hatches of a Stug rather than a Panzer 1. But I'll make it work. You know, I'm not too upset about it, even though he is not sitting, as in like his arse is hovering. So I'm trying to figure out what's making him. So, that's that. I'm down to 2 minutes, right? Jesus. So well, this is about 30 minutes of footage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up these, add a bit of filler to where they're needed. I'm half tempted to actually pose this chap instead of sitting on the hatch, because he's kind of sitting awkwardly, just sitting beside the commander. You know what I mean? If I sand his arse down a bit, I can make it work. Or even just like that. And change his arm. So I'm going to tweak around with this sitting chap and with the commander. So in the next video we'll be doing a bit more detail work. We'll be adding some photo etch medals and whatnot I have from the spares, and adding side arms to them and whatnot. So that's grand. So thanks for listening to me for this long. Hope you're all having a good night and a good weekend. Hope all your builds are going quite well, and yeah, so that's all. Sign off now. So you've been watching along, lads, babble away and mellow and self-pity. So that's it. Jeez, what can I ever say? God, I'm making this awful hard. God almighty. Okay. Yeah, so anyway, I'll let you go. So have a good weekend, lads. Keep up the good modelling and watch out for them buses. Bye bye.